Hello everyone. How are we doing? And yes, it is live. Okay, good, awesome.
Are you working? Is everything going through?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to log into Streamlabs again. Sorry guys, I forgot that there was that whole breach thing, and they changed this, string keys and everything like that, so there
Does
isn't
this
any
mean that
mishaps.
our super aggressive bot is on holidays for the day?
Yeah, the super aggressive bot is on holiday, so I guess you'll get all the shilling at the
Oh
end.
yeah. If you ever wanted to say butts in chat, tonight's the night.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, back again for another OC Talks. I guess we missed like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was away for a week and then there was dog-related emergencies for a week.
Yes, she's doing better now. So she's gone out for a walk at the moment. I might have to answer the door quickly, so if I vanish for a moment, Meraki will take the charge. But yeah, welcome back to another OC Talks. Obviously, we have Meraki here,
Hello.
and we have our two guests, Sil and I'm gonna just call you by your Discord names, Squeaky.
Yeah, that
And
works.
squeaky.
Hello.
So, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got into roleplay first before we go into the questions? Shall we go from Sil to Squeaky?
I'm
Sure.
fine with that.
All right, go ahead.
In the fall of year 2005, I played Club Penguin as a tiny infant of 6 years old. And I did a lot of things I'd like to forget on there that I won't go into. Then I played Roblox and did more things I'd like to forget because I was a dumb child. Eventually, I got into WoW in, I think, 2013, I think it was. I didn't get into RP until, what is it, 8.2.5. Even though, because the thing about being a teenager starting WoW in 2013 is that you just get a lot of exposure to WoW YouTubers who will constantly parrot that RP is cringe and you should die if you do it. So I kept away for a very long time. Finally started up just after Sylvanas completely just started destroying the story. And I've been having fun since.
Anyway.
Been having fun since, enjoying playing dead people.
Nice. It's a great time to join. So let's just join the story.
Yeah. We weren't using that story, it's fine.
Yeah, we have our own stories. What about you, Squeaky? I think you've been there before, but it's been a while, so might as well refresh everyone's mind.
Sure. So, thinking about it, I probably got into roleplay way back when Puzzle Pirates was still a thing. I started role playing, just doing pirate stuff back as a child, and then eventually I stopped for a long time until I hit university, where I started in Guild Wars 2, and I started as a role playing nublet, and I got into a really good guild on my first try, and they sort of yeah, it was like a really family-esque community. I believe they're still going today. Shout out to Sylvan Heart. It was a great guild. I don't know if they're still around today. But eventually I had to leave because university stress. And yeah, I started in World of Warcraft roleplay around the middle part of Legion. And got into another really good guild. Shout out to Tori Belore. That unfortunately disbanded. And shortly after that, got into Blazing Phoenix. That's still kicking today. In fact, I'm at one of the guild events tonight. So yeah, been just a really fun experience and good luck in getting into some really good guilds.
Yeah, normally you have to go through a few before you find the right fit.
Yeah, I'd say I've been lucky. I have had some bad experiences with some shitty guilds. Um, but I'd say for the most part, I've enjoyed my time role playing, and I haven't had any like truly god awful experiences. I think the role play community is often memed as being incredibly toxic, but honestly, a lot of the places I've joined in have, like hyper focused on mental health first and community comes first before the role play, you know.
It,
Um,
Yeah.
it just tends to be a general case of the negative stuff being louder than what's actually going on.
Yeah, and you'll find what you're looking for a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
yeah, I think so. Like I wouldn't say I've had any like truly terrible experiences. I've had some bad ones, sure, but for the most part I've had a really good time role playing and growing as a character.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Awesome sauce. All right. Well, let's just dive straight into it then. Who is your character? We'll keep going with the same from Sil to Squeaky, so we don't have you two fighting over who to answer first.
I'll fight for my right to go second if you want to avoid fighting. No, it's fine. I play a lot of characters, but the one I'm talking about today is Malinara Venom Soul, or just Mal. And she is a Geist. She's a Geist that I'm probably is going to take like the top of the leaderboards for most off the wall Nightborn character ever created, because she is a Nightfallen who died about 4,000 years ago and was risen into undeath, but she doesn't have any organs anymore. She's just venomous slime and a skeleton in like a skin suit, which is a a good horror movie thing, I think. But she's just a scary a scary one-eyed gal with big claws.
How fitting we're doing this in October.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm here as the spooky
We should have done it
representation.
on purpose.
I mean, oh yeah, we meant to do that.
Definitely wasn't just a big long list.
No, definitely not. Well, saying that, list is starting to reach towards the end, so if you want to sign up, I'll chill at the end. What about you, Squeaky? Who's your character you're talking about tonight?
I'm going to be talking about Astran, although I will warn I may go on a tangent every now and again about the general Dawnhaven family that I've built up.
I mean, we do have some questions about family, so that's fine. Um, all right, let's dive into the next one. Did you have any initial inspiration towards the design of your character? If so, where from?
Well, Mal started as a character I used as just part of a backstory for somebody else I play for my Death Knight. When I made my first ever campaign for the guild I was in at the time, I made her into a villain because I am stupid, but it turned out well. But I had a Geist character that I was making anyway that it was just using the Rogue ICC set, which is the Geist one. It had it doesn't have an eye; it just has a big glowing green hole in the face. And the Necrolord set, because Shadowlands wasn't out yet, and I was very excited. The Necrolord leather set, which just looks like it's leaking green goo. So that's where the main design was for it. But when it came to actually RPing her, I took a lot of inspiration from Venom from Spider-Man comics, because obviously, obvious reasons, Venom Soul, Goo, Claws. Uh, when she fights, she does the Spider-Man crouch. The one hand on the floor and the one in the air
Yeah.
that you'd fall over if you tried to do it in real life. And when I started making art for her, I decided to update her design a bit more than just elf in some tier sets. So I gave her some tattered sort of robes, just to break her up a little, I think, just to make her a little more 3D.
Awesome. Crap, I completely went mind blank.
It's quite an organic design then. It's
It
just sort
is,
of built
yeah.
up as you went along.
You mentioned
A
that
big happy accident.
you got inspired by a set. I kind of realized I've done that sometimes myself now, just from seeing something. I guess that goes for Linzara in a way with the whole Paladin tier set from Legion. So it's an interesting way to approach a character as well by design.
Yeah, I've heard of a few people doing that as well. Like they see a tier set that's just so good, they're like, I need a character that would wear it.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Squeaky?
Original inspiration towards the design of my character, I was sort of going for general blood elf mage. I was still learning the lore of Warcraft at the time, and the character's really grown since. Currently, I'd say, though, what it's ended up is probably unintentionally his character has been heavily inspired by some popular fiction characters. Um, the protagonist from the book Magician, if you've ever read it, by Raymond E. Feist, Pug, or Father
It's a great
Nightingale
book.
from an ooh yay someone else who's read it, or Father Nightingale from the anime Trinity Blood.
I can't read.
You lost me on the anime one, but I do know the book reference.
Illiteracy
Yeah.
gang.
Yeah, so I just sort of went for like this vague, like typical mage character. My concept behind the way his magic works and the way he casts spells being heavily inspired by that character. Lots of small, whilst magic is very powerful, do mages really use it to be powerful? Or do they use it more for quality of life?
It's an interesting approach to have with that. I've seen characters often be the power approach, right? But I always love it when characters go for like, more for knowledge or more for trying to improve a certain area, something like that. There's always some like specific, action
Yeah.
towards they're going for.
And like his whole approach is magic is meant to be, there are no bad students, only bad teachers. His whole backstory surrounds him being a sort of a satisfied instructor who was happy to just live his life instructing until the fall. But I'll get into his backstory a little later, I suppose.
All right. Okay, so have you ever ran into any issues when role playing your character?
When I started role playing Mal, which was conveniently just over a year ago, it would have been a year to the Sunday before. I did it with I did it just by being on my Death Knight character, summoning a Geist minion, and using the NPC speech in TRP, which was very awkward because it's I either had to have one of my characters be needlessly silent while the other one spoke, or I'd just have RP conversations with myself while there are other people around, which is really very sad if I were to do that. Besides that, because I have another Undead Nightborn character, because I don't have original ideas, I had issues for a very long time making them distinct. But as they grew, as Mel grew more, as she did more RP, there was more differences rose in what is it? What's the word? No, I've lost it. Theocracies or something? Theologies, whatever.
cut out.
I think so. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I think Fuse went to the door.
Oh, bless him. All right. What about yourself?
I'd say probably the biggest problem I came across, which actually turned into some really good character growth for my character, was when he started out, he had hemophobia because of the fall.
I've
The sight.
never. That's really interesting. I've never seen a character come out of that with that particular but it would be relevant.
Yeah, because I was like, this character is a scholar, and I joined a military guild. The reason being he had an approach of he failed as a magister during the fall, so he will seek out an honorable death. And he started as a very soft character with hemophobia, and our first mission was uh, to spare the majority of the details. We came across a very gory scene. And I was like, my character throws up, and it became problematic during guild events for this character to be hemophobic. But it turned into a chance for growth for my character as he progressed over the years to sort of like grow as a character who is this like soft spoken, gentle scholar into a more hardened military veteran.
That is very cool, and I like the contrast because the Blood Elves are all about blood for the fallen and mourning the blood that was spilled and stuff. So it's an interesting take on that and that event.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I think about like how a character would feel being a blood elf, I figured some blood elves, even after all these years, would carry a lot of that trauma with them,
Mm-hmm.
and that would manifest itself in certain fears and triggers.
Yeah.
So I still reference it every now and then, just a reference to his stomach turns, but he has been sort of desensitized to it. But yeah, it's been an interesting character plot point that still gets referenced every now and then in guild events, even, which is quite cool.
Very cool. All right. The next one is what is your character's goals and aspirations? What is it they're trying to do or achieve?
Well, Mal was in life. She was a Nightborn, and she was a noble and a mage. But she's now very insecure about the fact that she can't do arcane magic anymore, because that's such a big thing for the Nightborn. It's a huge part of their culture, and it's very difficult for her to adjust. But the reason she can't actually do it is because she's got big meaty claws and she can't do like the hand gestures.
Yeah.
But so she's gone and she's tried to learn fell magic instead because it's a lot more brutal and it's a lot more there's much less finesse to it. She's not gotten very far. She's actually stopped after certain things have transpired with her family. But another thing she's been keen on is becoming an apothecary because she's literally made of poison. So it's something she's very interested in, wanting to understand herself more, and to be more of value to the Forsaken who have taken her in, despite the things she's done.
That's quite interesting as well. And I imagine it's because Nightborn are such a long-lived race that to lose something you've potentially that's been part of your life every single day for so long is quite a shift.
It's been heavily integrated into their society, considering they've been under the bubble so long as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a mark of status as well. So it really hammers home how little she is now.
trying to think of like an example of something though that's relevant. I don't even think there is anything that's that integral to everything.
I suppose it.
You know.
I suppose it would be like a painter losing their hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
It's gotta be like a traumatic experience.
How does she? Because they obviously joined recently with the Forsaken, right?
That's right. Yes,
What
it's
do they
just under
feel
every year.
with all like the drama of the Horde and stuff? Then
Yeah. She joined post Sylvanas' yell, her post her screech and fly away.
yeah.
So,
Screw you guys, I'm going home.
yeah, it's been very difficult for her to integrate because the people she's joined are just in tatters. They're not. They're living in tents in a desert, and they're being spat on by orcs every day. So she's been a lot more humbled by that.
Fair enough. What about you, Squeaky?
Currently, my character's only goals is to sort of. He's been building up a family to sort of not replace the one that he lost, but build something for himself to protect. He's being a big proportionate of adoption. I suppose I'll get into the adopting later in the questions, but he's essentially been trying to redeem himself for allowing his previous family to be lost. And he's been doing that by sort of going through the found family route and working hard to sort of create something for him to protect again, and um, something for him to care about deeply and live for.
So it's a fair thing to have going. It's a common one as well. Goal and aspirations, family. I have a few characters like that, being Ursia, for example. It's one of her long-term goals to have her own family and, well, be a better mother than her mother was. But
Yeah,
I think it's a pretty decent one to have, and I hope he finds it or Dan works for him.
yeah. I mean, so far so good. He's due to get married eventually, sometime.
Congrats to your character.
Thanks.
Uh, so saying that, do your characters have any family, a partner? Do they have or want kids? Are they on good terms with their family? I imagine the have kids part doesn't exactly work with
Yeah.
the characters, but yeah.
She could probably like spit some slime globs on the floor and they'd animate themselves.
Essentially
No,
children. That's how it works.
It works kind of. No, but really, the only genetic family that Mel has are her parents, her mother Sambris and her father Ada. But she's on very very bad terms with them, and it's not because she's undead. Well, it kind of, but the two of them were upset by the actions she took because Malinara protested the shield staying up in Suramar. She was insistent that there was a world outside of Suramar, and that the city isn't all that's left, and they should leave and go and forge a new society outside of the bubble. And that got them in in hot water with the other nobles of Suramar, so they conspired to have her exiled, which succeeded and led to her death because she actually took her own life before she could wither. She would rather have been dead than be a monster, ironically. But they it turned out well for her in the end because her parents turned out to be Sargeras worshippers after the war against the Legion.
Oh
Which
boy, that's some
yeah
life choices.
yeah that's why she stopped using fel magic. But she's used this as leverage to get money out of them a lot, because being a Forsaken on the street, you need money for some things, especially if your body's falling apart at the seams. But eventually she just got them thrown into the Sanctum of Order out of spite, because she really doesn't like them for what they've done to her. But that's all she really has. She has formed a sort of matronly relationship with a Dark Ranger, which is a little twisted and very unintended, but that's all there really is to it.
Sounds interesting, particularly with the family part. Are they active characters you play, or friends, or background characters?
Are there background characters? I had plans a long time ago to do events with them, but they fell through when Shadowlands dropped, and everything sort of just fell off in terms of RP.
Yeah, there's been a lot of that, a lot of storylines. I think we've had a couple as well that have just got kind of set by the wayside for now because of everything going on.
I write short stories for my characters very frequently, so I've made use of them still. They have arcs, they have documented events that happen to them, so they're not completely out of the picture. I may use them as villains someday.
Ticking along on the sidelines till they're needed.
Yeah.
Always good to have options. What about you, Aston? I keep saying Aston, but it's Asta, isn't it?
Astran.
Astran, because we have Astan, you know, and you're Astran. I'm never gonna get them right, but we'll try.
I mean, close enough. Yeah, family. So I roleplay it's an entire family called the Dawnhaven family, which is the father a Death Knight, Mathanos Dawnhaven, the eldest brother Astran Dawnhaven, the middle brother Therag Dawnhaven, and the youngest brother Dravathan Dawnhaven. It's been an interesting sort of relationship because each of the brothers was effectively raised as a tool of the father, with two of them, Astran and Therag, becoming magisters, whilst Dravathan became a blood knight. Astran does not have a very good relationship with either of his brothers or his father, despite his best attempts. Yeah, I also like to make use of short stories just to explore their relationship every now and then when they have the misfortune of crossing each other's paths. Nastran makes the frail attempt at recovering some sort of relationship with his brothers. Currently, children-wise or partner-wise, Astran has a partner and two adopted children. One being Ileana Dawnhaven, who is a 7 or 8-year-old little girl who he adopted on one of his missions, or one of the Blazing Phoenix's missions. One of the first events I attended, actually. So that's been really interesting to see and sort of include that in roleplay and short stories. Mostly because it's been interesting to explore. Astran had a family before the fall who were lost in the fall, and sort of see how he feels about raising a child by himself post the fall.
Yeah.
And then the second child being Summer Sunkissed, who is a grown adult who Astran adopted as sort of a substitute heir because his only other adopted child was an actual child, and being in the military, he was like, I need someone who
you've
can
got
take
a higher
over.
mortality rate.
Yeah. Especially with his terrible, terrible luck. Astran is unfortunately riddled with scars as a result of my bad RNG.
Oh, high five.
High five. Going so far as to missing the tip of his one ear.
Oh, same.
Hey, great minds think alike.
Have you ever rolled 1 3 times in a row?
No, but I've had 100 rolled against me twice in a row.
Oof.
Oh, that's pretty much the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It ended up with me being polymorphed into a sheep in the middle of a duel.
Oof. You gotta love those bad RNGs.
Yeah. But yeah, family is a very interesting topic that I've explored sort of through my characters and their sort of like intermixing families and how they interact with each other. And recently, a friend of mine has started role playing Astran's niece, the previously unknown daughter of his younger brother Therag, which has been interesting getting with the two characters getting to know each other and her sort of carrying across traits she would have gotten from her father, which she sort of picked up in role playing with him. And it's been interesting to watch the interactions and uh, also sort of see what it's like to role play with a member of the family who isn't myself.
It's always fun to have that. It's me specifically. I only really do it with people I trust.
Oh, of course, we've been role playing
Yeah.
together for about 2 years now.
It's probably why I'd suggest everyone as a whole, really, because it's really letting someone into your character story, or you going into theirs, obviously. Um, but yeah, I feel like characters are a great way to have your character push for further narratives going forwards, or even some in the background to help develop how your character is today. Like with Sill's family being Sargeras worshippers, and obviously with your finding the recent niece as well. But yeah, I think it's really great ideas you both have for your characters there.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Where do they live, and where have they lived before?
Oh, I got a list. Um, because Mal's parents are now in the Sanctum of Order, technically, because she won a Talashar to get ownership, to get like the honor of the family. She's technically the mistress of her old household, but she doesn't stay there because Suramar's yucky and they don't like undead very much. Um, so she's more of a wayfarer at the moment. She's more nomadic. She just wanders about and because she doesn't tire out, so there's no need to settle down anywhere. But when she was exiled, she had a few hideouts, and her main one was a shipwreck on the coast of Azuna, which she visits a lot more occasionally. It's um, it's a place of a lot of sentimentality to her. It's where she died. It's where um, she stows her things. It's where um, she hid from the elements in her exile. Um, But besides that, she squats in other people's tents in Orgrimmar, um, because she doesn't want to get a tent of her own, because she feels like that would make her look weak.
That's fair. Um, does she ever imagine going back to the house and just sitting there out of spite?
Occasionally, yeah, because they have a lot of demonic things in there. Because they were Sargeras worshippers, they have a lot of tomes and stuff that she could at any point just go and grab and make use of, but she doesn't want to because she wants to put that part of her she wants to put her old life behind her and move on because she's not a Nightborn anymore. Anyone who looks at her would never think that she's a Nightborn. The only indicator of that would be her height and her ears, because she has night elf ears protruding out of the Geist head. Um, so to the average onlooker, she's just a Geist, and she'd prefer to make just keep being a Geist instead of trying to cling to being Suramarian.
Yeah. That's fair. What about our friend Squeaky?
Astran currently Astran stayed for a while in an apartment in Silvermoon, post fall, but I want to say recently, but it's more for the past 2 years or so, has stayed in his old family estate in Eversong Woods. He rebuilt the estates, which had fallen into ruin due to neglect after his father died during the fall, and has sort of been expanding on it slowly but surely. He keeps the apartment for as sort of a safe house in Silvermoon, though,
Okay.
and has debated immigrating to Pandaria.
There
Haven't we all?
is some pretty lovely spots
Yeah.
there.
Right? Like, just a beach house in Sri La sounds amazing.
Or could you imagine living on top of mountains? Just nice little view and nice. I mean, obviously it's cold, but it's still a pretty view.
Windy.
Pretty view makes up for it.
All the plum wine you can drink.
Yeah. So what do they do? You know, have they always done that? Where did they learn the skills required for it? Did they want to do it, or was it forced on them?
You could probably make some guesses about this. But when Mel was alive, she had a passion, and she still does have a passion for more academic things like magic and alchemy. But she's not really able to shake the fact that she is this clawed monster with venomous guts. She's a walking weapon. That's what she was resurrected to be by the man that did it. Um, she was just meant to be an obedient talon and nothing really else other than that. So she has a very intimate knowledge of how to fight with her claws, where to scratch, to kill, where to scratch to let poison seep in best. Um, and that's obviously forced on her because she didn't ask. She was never asked, and she didn't ask to become what she is now. Um, but she's grown to like it a little. She's not happy with how she looks and what she is, but she's um she feels more free. Um, she's more at come to terms with it now that she's capable of doing these things of her own free will rather than just out of obedience for somebody else.
The element of control allows an element of acceptance.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Fair. What about you, Squeaky?
So currently, Astran serves as a military officer and a magister. The magister part being something he's always done according to his backstory, whilst the military thing is something he only recently came into. He joined the military during Legion invasion as a sort of a way to. He'd sort of accepted that he had failed during the fall, and as you may have picked up by now, a lot of his reasoning is the fall happened and it was terrible. Um, but he joined the
It's a good
military in
reason.
a way to find sort of an honorable death to rejoin his wife and children who died. Having always avoided the military previously because it's something his father wanted him to pursue. Um, and he's found some success in it as a military officer now. But it's definitely not something he ever saw himself doing or has done for an incredibly long time. So he often struggles to come to grips with sort of the duties of military and the responsibility behind it. Whilst discipline is something he's used to as a mage and a magister, the art of war is not something he's so familiar with, which I suppose helps him serve a commander who is so significantly younger than him.
He's adapted to it quite well then, or is he still adapting to it?
I'd say he's adapted to it quite well. He's done a lot better than he thought he would.
All right. I'm sure his dad's also happy now, right?
His father takes the approach of, "Ha, I told you so." To which Astran responds, "Well, you died, so your opinion doesn't matter."
You beat him there.
Uh
Uh,
huh.
what are some of their like favorite or worst memories, or even both?
Oh well. As for a favorite, I took Mal on a campaign ran by the very generous, very lovely Caitlin, um, where we fought other gooey, poisonous undead. Very coincidentally, they were called the Joy Division, I think, and that's the closest she's ever come to having fun since she became what she is. Even though the stakes were horrifically high and they nearly lost horribly, she got to flaunt her skills a lot. She got to sneak about by clinging to ceilings and swinging from bars, so she really Spider-Maned it up. Um, and she got to let loose when others couldn't because there was a risk of getting infected by this poisonous substance that she was just sort of immune to by already being poisonous substance. Um, but she didn't. She came out a little bit shaken from one event, but the whole rest of the time she had a really really good time. She got to be pretentious and high and mighty for for the first time in a very long time because she finally felt like she had value again. Um, because before that, she was just a monster trying to deal with being a monster, and now she was a valued member of this group that's able to do things that others can't and show off what she's capable of without having to defer to somebody who doesn't care about them. Um, as for the worst, um, even though Mal died 4,000 years ago, she was resurrected in the Cataclysm, um, and she only got her free will back after Nazoth was dead, in quotation marks, dead, because we don't know. Um, and that's, I think, if you put that into the canon timeline, about half a decade of not being able to do anything of her own free will. And she was completely conscious the entire time of it, as she was resurrected by a Valkyr, using a Valkyr rather, not by a Valkyr. Um, so she was just sort of a prisoner in her own body, um, doing horrible things that she didn't want any part in, and I don't think it's anything she'll ever really get over. It's this horrid experience to go through, and it really shapes what she's like now. She's very shy of being um, put in situations that she doesn't want to be in.
I imagine that's quite free, obviously, for her at this point, and again, feeling useful as well. All good things for her going forwards now, right? Hopefully, at least.
Hope, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how
Unless
see
you've
how
got
the plot
our
turns out.
unless you've got our RNG, then you're fine.
Yeah, pending player interaction.
What about you, Squeaky?
The fall.
Oh no, it's
um,
back. The full part
yes.
2.
Is that the best or the worst, or is it both?
Definitely the worst. I wrote a whole sort of short story of Astran's experience in the fall, which sort of details how he first watches his wife die, then his daughter, and then finds the body of his son. So that definitely goes down amongst his worst memories. But I suppose since then, in actual roleplay time, his most memories would probably include being eaten by a plant, uh, and then cut out of it, which probably is a not fun experience for anyone, if I had to guess the relatability of it. But best memories, I'd say one in particular that sort of made him realize that he was serving under the right commander was during the Silver Pine RP PvP campaign. During the retreat of the Horde at the first big battle, the one that was crashing the server,
Oh, yes.
he spotted some Tauren or trolls getting surrounded by some Alliance footmen, and he went over to distract the footmen and ended up getting stuck behind enemy lines. And I, out of character, got lost. And I decided for immersion reasons, I am now in characterly lost too and refuse to look at the map. And he'd
Beautiful.
he sat down to sort of accept his fate of eventually the Alliance will find him and that'll be the end of him. And cresting over the hill comes his commander to say, "What are you doing back here, you idiot?"
Just enjoying the view.
Yeah.
Taking a break.
So being rescued is definitely one of his best memories, and is the reason he will stand by his commander to the end. I'd say another probably best memory would be probably his sort of part honeymoon with his current fiancée, a holiday they took to Pandaria, which sort of has motivated his desire to move to Pandaria. It was a lot of fun roleplay, just very relaxed, laid-back social roleplay, exploring Pandaria in a very sort of adventurous way.
Do love those. We once did a little camping trip up to Grizzly Hills, and I'm like, you know what? Just for the immersion's sake, I'm just gonna walk around Grizzly Hills and just see how it hits me, and it just hits different.
It really does. And I mean, we didn't even log in game for any of the roleplay, but it was, like going for a swim off the shore of Sri La or hiking up a snowy mountain to visit a hot spring.
Yeah, when you put those settings that you know so well from a Warcraft context into that kind of day-to-day perspective, it just,
Yeah, like it sort of humanizes the characters a bit, I think. Like it wouldn't be fun to do it all the time because you know what, we all role play because we want a character who can do some flashy stuff.
Yeah.
Like we don't want to just be restricted to the stuff we could do in real life.
Gotta be a little bit of dramatics in there.
Yeah, but every now and then it's nice to sort of humanize the characters for their relatability sake. And I was listening to an interview on the Adventuring Academy podcast with Marisha Ray. The podcast being hosted by Brennan Lee Mulligan, and he was interviewing Marisha Ray, and they were speaking about why D&D, for instance, can be so impactful to our psyche. And they mentioned, I can't quote them exactly, but a large part of, the memory faculty of the brain that remembers the real stuff also is responsible for remembering the fantasy roleplay stuff. So really, we remember those memories almost as intensely as we remember our real ones.
That's very interesting.
It sort of brings up the philosophical question of, does that make them just as important to our real life experience and who we are as people, and how impactful they are, considering they reside in the same portion of the brain.
I think we mentioned similarly that roleplay is also good enough good for discovering more about you as a person as well. I think it's just a generally healthy thing for the mindset at times.
It is, because you're creating, is they say that like reading, writing, anything that you're doing that's causing your brain to have to think about creative outcomes to situations is good for stimulating all the different synapses in your brain. So, it's
Yeah.
all good hobby stuff that's generally good for your health and brain power and all those kind of things.
There's obviously a
It's
bad
also just
to it
very fun.
when you get all the drama stuff, but that comes with most things as well.
Yeah. Even if you're playing football, I think there's like drama in sports teams and all.
Yeah.
I don't think there's an escape from it.
No, there's always a bad way to approach it and stuff like that as well. But obviously, roleplay can be very good for your mental health, and obviously, as I said, discovering more about yourself as well. It's a good way to just explore and obviously have fun writing, creating.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the memories we make in roleplay are hugely important, and even with a bit of drama for the sake of drama being fun, it makes the moments more meaningful when there are sad and bitter moments,
Yeah,
kind of like real life. It makes the happy moments more meaningful.
definitely. All right. What was their childhoods like then?
Oh,
Terrible.
well, you
Well,
can
there we go.
imagine with Mal's parents being really bad people, the childhood was not too fun. Mal grew up in the very late days of the Night Elf Empire, and because her parents were obsessed with status and perception, um, she was forced into a lot of things she didn't like. She didn't want to go to Suramar to learn magic. She did because she was originally from another. I can't remember the name of the town. It's one of the ruined ones, but in Azuna. Um, but she was originally from there. She moved to Suramar to learn, but she didn't want to because Suramar was further from the capital. And she also got into an arranged marriage that she didn't want at all at a very young age, which luckily the fiance broke it off when they found somebody they actually cared for. But her parents were a lot harsher on her because of it. Um, it made her pour more of her focus into her magic until pretty much the end of the War of the Ancients. Um, she had some friends that made things a little easier for her, though, but for the most part, she was just a, a nerdy shut-in with really strict parents that she hated.
Relatable.
Yeah,
I definitely didn't. I didn't draw it from real life, thankfully, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, unfortunately.
yeah. What about you, Squeaky?
So Astran and his brothers were raised effectively to be political tools for their parents. Uh, Astran in particular had I won't go into details, but a physically and emotionally abusive childhood. Uh, so which sort of reflects in how he behaves now, in that he is determined to not be his parents. Uh, which is why he originally didn't want to join the military, because his parents were both generals in the Thalassian army, and he was determined to sort of like, I will not be you, I will be better, I will be gentle, I will be kind. Uh, but I will say it sort of has sort of created some interesting character interaction in the short stories between him and his brothers, because whilst they don't get along, they have this sort of unbreakable bond of, we survived our childhood together, we can get along for 5 minutes, or we can have a conversation no matter how much we dislike each other, we will have each other's backs. Uh, Sort of like a semi Stockholm syndrome with each other.
Uh, I guess I just call it sibling love, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
too, I suppose.
you can love your family, but at the same time, you can also have the feelings of not liking them, if you know what I mean. They're your
Yeah.
blood, but you don't have to get along with them at the end of the day either.
Yeah, like they have come very close to killing each other on many occasions.
Yeah.
Uh, but it sort of created having this sort of dynamic of we survived childhood together. Uh, we, they won't betray each other. They won't turn against each other no matter what. And there's been some interesting role play happening between their partners, for instance, who do not like each other or the brothers, or uh, even just within context of people they've met. Because I role play Therag, Astran's younger brother, as a villain, he comes across people who say, well, would you just be willing to sell your brother's soul to me? To which Therag has always responded, absolutely the fuck not.
Yeah.
Villain with a soft heart for his brother.
Yeah, like each brother has a soft spot specifically
Yeah.
for their brothers. And I mean, it's gone as far as one of the brothers betraying the Horde uh, in order to sort of uphold his, or sort of be spiteful on behalf of another brother. I won't betray the details of which brother or the occasion in which it happened, but it was some really fun role play.
Awesome. Uh, look at that. We got on 9 o'clock and still have a few questions. To be fair, we did start a bit late because I forgot about the stream key. Uh,
I don't think there's ever been an episode that hasn't gone over
well,
anyway.
actually,
No.
we've had like a few odd ones.
I think when me and you did it,
Yeah,
we had it pretty close. That's
yeah,
because we burned through things.
we do burn through things. Um, all right. Do your characters have any strengths and weaknesses? No, what are they even? Obviously, they have them.
I like this question
Unless
because I
they
get to
don't.
pretend to be clever. Uh, so, with Mal, um, a lot of her emotional and her physical strengths and weaknesses are similar. And the my favorite example of this is that she's very fragile. It doesn't take a lot to set her off. So she's done some very stupid things before, and her bones are millennia old, so she'll fall over if a light breeze um, catches her. On one occasion, she got very cocky trying to attack a foe that was below her because they had annoyed her, and she jumped off of where she was and just went on the ground. It broke her bones horribly, had to be carried, and it's it was not very fun for her. Um, but her body is a huge limiter to her. She can't get out of the skin suit that she's in. Um, it's sort of like again to try and pretend to be clever. The old um the old saying about the broom. If you replace the bristles, replace the handle, replace everything about it, is it still the same broom? All that's really left of her is her bones. She can't get rid of her bones because would she still be the same person if she did? Um, that's something that really worries her. So she's stuck with a body that isn't very capable of taking hits, of staying together very well. If she goes in water, she will start to come apart, and her insides will start spilling out into the water around her, which has happened before in the campaign I mentioned before. She had to spend a very long time under the ocean, and she was a mess of deflated, sopping flesh after that, um, who could barely move, and it took I think it was weeks to recover. Um, but as for strengths, she's very prideful. Even though she is fragile, she's got a very large ego that keeps her from um, always viewing herself as a monster. Um, it does make her do things that are sort of monstrous, which such as like sending other people off to do things for her because she just doesn't want to do it, and making them risk their lives for it, just to save herself some time. But she is, at the end of the day, she doesn't do it out of spite or hate for anybody. She she tries to put herself in people's shoes a lot because her shoes aren't very nice, and she'd like to get into some other shoes. She'd like to be an orc. She wouldn't hate being an orc. Anything to not be a goo monster, I think. So that's she's a lot more compassionate than people would like to give her credit for, even though she does have this overinflated ego.
To be fair, who wouldn't want to be an orc? I mean,
Most Nightborn, I think, just
they're clearly lying. But I say this from
that's true. We do have Vel.
from a factual perspective. Obviously, the Nightborns have these like opinions which are wrong, but you know. What about you, Squeaky?
Strengths-wise, Astran is a very powerful Magister. Even though I tend to roleplay him as doing very small-scale casting, when he gets in a mood, he can be quite powerful. However, I do also roleplay him as having chronic depression, meaning that sometimes his spells just aren't going to work. I also use that as an excuse for when his RNG is bad. He gets anxiety attacks. He grows unsure of himself. He loses confidence in his ability to cast spells. And although he can be powerful, he can also be incredibly weak at times.
Yeah, if you're doubting yourself, you're obviously. I think that goes to like even in real life, no matter what you're doing, if you're doubting yourself and you're doubting your ability, you're not going to be doing it to your full ability.
Yeah, and then of course he has the obvious one. He's a magister, not a swordsman. Punch him in the nose, and he can't do much about it once you're up close. Physical weakness wise. Um, at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of sort of catch-all mages these days. So I wanted to really roleplay something that was almost stereotypical in its own way, perhaps probably a hipster way of, here's a mage, get in close, and he's a glass cannon, because he's not exactly a close combat fighter or a close quarters fighter.
It's an interesting interaction to have with the sort of anxiety as well, because I imagine like casting in general, not just mages, obviously requires a lot of focus. Any mishap and things can just go awry.
Yeah, if you're doubting your ability to cast or your strength in, or sort of talent with arcane, the arcane's not going to answer you. It's a very mental school. It's a very mental practice to pursue.
Yeah.
So obviously, if your mental state isn't great, it will come back to bite you in the behind.
Yeah. Okay, so do your characters have any hobbies or passions?
Besides magic and alchemy, Mal likes writing. Her handwriting sucks because she has massive claws and she can't hold pens. But she's been writing a thesis on the history of the Forsaken and where they should be going moving forward, which I've been actually writing myself from an IC perspective, but I didn't finish it because I'm lazy. And sometimes she draws, so with her big meaty claws as well, and they're very crude and very abstract pieces.
If her whole weapon thing doesn't work out, she can become an artist then. Abstract stuff tends to sell for a lot, right?
Yeah, just use like her insides as paint.
Exactly.
It'll all be green, but it will be very nice green.
What about you, Squeaky?
Astran enjoys poetry. Something he picked up from his father is he enjoys poetry and classical literature, reading of play scripts and that sort of thing. And somehow, although he has the worst fashion sense in all of Azeroth, he very often gets recruited into judging fashion competitions.
Once you've done one successfully, it's just kind of, it's on the CV then.
Yeah, but also lecturing and education. He has quickly found himself the instructor of a variety of students, both backstory wise and actually in character.
Fair enough. All right. I guess last question and bonus question that Meraki gets to pull out of the drawing hat. Uh, well, so what does a day look like for your character, and how would someone get in touch with them? I see.
Well, Mel's on the road a lot because she lives sort of nomadically. So it's always traveling about in the dark corners of the real world. But she only ever really stops in Orgrimmar or in the Sepulchre every once in a while to check in on the Forsaken that are there. Shout out to the Fallen Order; they're cool people.
Ooh, second
Yeah.
that.
Um. So, look in those places, I suppose, Orgrimmar or the Sepulchre. I'm not on Mal very frequently anymore, because of obvious reasons with WoW. But I do, and I build a lot on Epsilon on her. So if you find her online on Epsilon, then I'm probably not in character. I'm probably just building.
They also dump
Um,
undead stuff on my island.
You needed it. You needed it. It had to get there eventually. Um, if you want to contact her in character, a letter is probably the easiest way to do it because you'll probably get around to reading it eventually, and it's a lot easier. Obviously, she sticks out like a sore thumb wherever she goes, but when she's not there, you're probably not going to find her.
That's fair. What about you, Squeaky?
You can find Astran at his office in the Spire. He is a full time magister and military officer, meaning he is very easily reachable via letters or just simple requests to see him. You can probably book an in character session at the Spire, blah, blah, blah. But otherwise, you can, out of character, just reach me over Discord. I'm in the Fusecraft Discord.
The
Uh,
Fusecraft Discord.
yeah. Or you can send a letter in game to me on Astran. I log in at least twice a week, if not more. Uh, yeah,
There you go, guys. If you want to find them, letters or Silverman.
yeah,
Hit them up in
the
our
best.
Discord.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, of course, the Discord.
Discord's always helpful.
I like to make arguments with people there.
Yeah, Sil's always bullying me in DMs. Uh,
You deserve it.
no, I don't. The heck. All right, Meraki, what's our bonus question?
Our bonus question today is: has your character ever committed a crime or been caught for a crime?
Ooh. Well, never caught, but Mal has blackmailed her parents a lot. Um, and straight up stolen from them in the past. She doesn't feel bad about it. Um, on one occasion, while stealing from them, he brought a pair of sickly Nightborn to help her out by posing as guards. And because they were sick, she promised them a cure for their illness, and she delivered. But not in the way they expected. She just slit their
Weird.
throats and left them
Oh,
bleeding out in
oh
in in the
man.
house for either
Ma'am,
the
that's
parents or the real
murder.
guards to find. Um, and of course, her parents would have suspicions, but they can't rat her out because if they did, she'd rat them out. and they wouldn't want that. But she ratted them out anyway, so who really cares at this point? Nobody's going to take the word of a couple of demon worshippers.
Guess you got the checkmate. What about you, Squeaky, then?
Astran has been both arrested and re-educated on 2 separate occasions for 2 separate crimes.
Sir, what are you doing in your spare time?
Clearly, he needs to talk with Theo to find out how to not get caught.
Yeah, so the time he got arrested was for vigilantism against surviving Scourge cultists. But without just cause, or, as with most vigilantes, they don't exactly they don't do it the legal way. So he sort of snapped at one point when he learned that the Scourge cultist who killed his wife was still alive, who was a traitor magister. So he went on a vigilante spree to try and find his wife's killer from the fall, which obviously was not so easy a task, and it ended up in him collecting a small pile of bodies.
In case,
Without-
right?
No, they did not kiss in the end.
Just in case it was one of them. It's like, I know it was
Yeah.
one of them. I'm not sure which one. So I killed them
Yeah.
all.
Basically. And then the second time was for allowing for not reporting his apprentice having dealings with a lich. And that was the time he got re-educated because his loyalties were brought into question.
Oh, yeah.
Can't
Silver Moon.
believe it.
Yeah, gotta love it. It's a really pretty place, but people tend to forget that
There's no room for
Still is-
softness.
there's still that scene of public re-education happening in the streets, going on in the bazaar. I know it's a place we all want to avoid, but it's there.
There's a different kind of re-education going on there.
Depends, which corner you go to.
Yep.
I can imagine the court case for that first one, though. Your Honor, the fall. Guilty.
Your Honor, I beg you consider they deserved it.
Your Honor, I slipped. Yeah. Do any of you have anything you want to show before I go on?
My Twitter.
ahead.
I tweet mediocre amateur Blender art sometimes of my stinky characters.
If you drop a link in the Discord, I can put it into the chat.
Very well.
Yeah,
Where in the Discord?
In our chat
no.
right now.
The one we're in.
Unfortunately, Streamlabs will be like, nope.
Yeah, if you drop it in chat, Streamlabs will kick your butt. And then make fun of you, probably.
Hi guys in chat, if you're here for the first time, welcome aboard. We like to talk about butts here.
I'm very disappointed the bonus question wasn't rating our characters' butts.
We haven't had that one.
We
in a
can
while.
still answer it.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to do it.
Now it's been asked.
Go
Now
ahead.
we can't hang up without answering it.
Alright, rate your butts then. Come on, guys.
It has been canonically confirmed that all Dawn Havens have a 10 out of 10 ass.
There we go.
How was it canonically confirmed? I
But-
require the scientific backing.
There was a period where I was part of a mini campaign, and we joked that the way a mini campaign to hunt and kill a lich, and we joked that the way we were going to do it was the Dawn Havens had a magic mic routine that they were going to perform to distract the lich.
Ah,
And this was at one point genuinely considered uncharacterly.
I think you need to get my human in on that. He'd participate. It's a 10 out of 10, but is it Silvermoon's ass?
Well, his current Mog outfit is very Captain America-y, so I'd say yes.
There we go.
I will go for the title.
We found Silvermoon's ass, folks. What about our
That's
friend
relief.
Sil here? You can rate your characters bar even though they're undead.
It's a horrid 1.
Not even a
Unfortunately,
zero.
it's.
The
Well, you
slime
said 1 to
sack.
10. You can't do 0 on a 1 to 10 scale.
Well, I mean, that means it's even worse than the 10 scale, right?
Well, I mean, a 0 would mean there's nothing there at all. Like it goes inwards, but it doesn't go inwards. It just sags down because it's
Nice.
goo. It's just goo in a bag, really.
Oh no, I could have lived without that. I have regrets.
That's what you get for putting this question on here. It's
To
like
be fair,
you-
to be fair, we do have Stitch's butt present in game, so you know. All right, guys. Meraki has posted Sil's Twitch not Twitch, Twitter. There, if you want to give them a follow, they do some pretty nifty Blender art. I think you also share some of your builds sometimes, right?
of my what? Sorry.
Your Epsilon builds. I don't know. I think I've seen you share them
Oh
before.
yeah, every so often. I was working on a undead town because I can't do anything that doesn't involve the undead, as you well know. And I haven't worked on it in a while because I've been working on on something else that I haven't posted, but I might post that too.
I've had a grave block on my own. What about you? Do you have anything you want to share, Squeak?
I'll plug my guild, the Blazing Phoenix. You can find us in Silvermoon every Tuesday and Saturday. We go on missions, so we're one of the few still up and running guilds on retail. You can contact either Tialis, the Guildmaster, Serital, Serital, or myself, Astran, Astran, to get involved. We're a blood elf military guild.
There you go, guys. If you want to find them, Blazing Phoenix, and the names just mentioned now. If you need those names repeated, just look on the YouTube video later. Or you can poke Squeak on Discord as well.
Pokemon Discord, yeah.
Yeah, give me a poke. We're always happy to have any intrepid blood elves who are dedicated to defending the High Home.
All right. Let's go for shilling then. If you're not following me on Twitch, please do so. If you want to keep up with any other streams in future, I might be streaming a lot more outside of this schedule soon, considering we're ordering a desk for my own room, so I have some more time and personal space to do that.
Sweet.
If you miss out on any other ones, you can follow me in my YouTube there. If you want to join our Discord,
The
it's right
entire
there.
catalog is on there.
Yes, I need to sort the list still, but I've been slacking with a lot of things. Well, for OC Talks, I think RP Talks has been sorted for a while since we haven't had any new
It's
stuff.
fairly in order.
Yeah. If you want to join Discord, it's there. It's not just for RP Talks. I mean, we welcome other creators as well and support them on their own personal projects.
All sorts of RP related shenanigans.
Yep. There's Patreon as well if you want to support me there. Purely optional. There's nothing locked behind it. It helps towards potentially funding the podcast being put on Spotify. Unfortunately, you have to pay monthly for that.
Aww.
Yeah, we're hoping to eventually be able to get an audio only version, but it is
Yeah.
quite a surprisingly steep monthly cost considering it's literally just ripping out the audio.
Maybe one day we'll be successful enough for it.
Might be very jarring though when you
Fingers crossed.
start shilling all the links and they're just not there.
That's why I'm trying to get used to saying the links, but at the moment I keep forgetting to do
Good luck
that.
pronouncing that Discord one.
You know what? The Discord one, I'll just point them towards YouTube.
I mean, you can just post the links in the audio description.
Sure, you can put it on the description as well, can't you? I believe that's it. If you want to ask me any questions as well, I mean, I haven't used this for RP Talks in a while, but here you go. Let me find it. Yeah, if you want to ask me anything, it's there. Otherwise, thank you for joining us.
If you would like to talk about your character next week or any other week, drop a application in. You'll find the links to those in our Discord.
In case you're
And
not
it can
Stated
be
before, the list is
any.
getting.
Yeah, the list is getting bare, so there's a good chance you could be called up pretty quickly. And it's not just for Warcraft characters. If you have a roleplay character from any game at all that you
D&D,
want to talk
Final
about,
Fantasy, ESO, whatever. It created an OC of your own universe. Come talk about it. It's alright. We're happy to listen. But otherwise, I believe that's it for tonight. Nothing, no updates for RP talks yet. I'm still stuck on where to go forward with that. But yeah, thank you for being with us. Thank you to you two as well.
Thank you for having me.
I'm shaking all over, but I'm happy I did this.
See ya.